The final shape is Destiny's Avengers Endgame, a decade-long culmination pitting players against the obliteration of the universe. Bungie has proven that games can weave epic sagas with real-world impact. And even if you don't play Destiny, this finale will be felt across the industry. This is why. At a glance, the premise of the game as released in 2014 seemed painfully simple. The universe is filled with evil, violent forces, the militaristic Cabal, the cunning Fallen, the calculating Vex, and the ravenous Hive. Humanity stands alone, and the player must protect it from the encroaching threat. Magic-wielding gunners, known as Guardians, are seemingly simple people brought back from the dead to fight against these sinister forces. Evil aliens are attacking. Go stop them. But what many didn't know at the time, not necessarily to their own fault, was that Bungie had started to weave a tapestry. This tapestry was fully interactive, with unique worlds to explore, enemies to fight, and powerful abilities to master. And you, the player, could see these worlds change over the course of 10 years in real time. Nobody was doing anything like this for an FPS game. Destiny has tremendous size and scope, from rope bandits to reality-cracking figures of dread.
Secure the veil.
But the game's narrative didn't reveal its cards in 2014. This was to the dismay of many critics. Its story was derided as pretentious, that it used its lack of explanation as an excuse to get away with avoiding any writing to begin with. And maybe this was true, but Destiny did leave clues. Nothing better represented these clues at the time, as well as the speaker. The speaker was a priest-like man who preaches on behalf of humankind's guardian angel, the Traveler. Humanity has been reduced to one last city on Earth, protected by the interstellar might of this mysterious construct that hangs above. The Traveler is a conduit of forces that defy the conventional laws of physics. Essentially, space magic. Light is a form of space magic that the Traveler actuates. The Traveler creates ghosts, sapient machines that use this light to find long-lost souls, bring them back to life, and have them wield the light's power to combat the forces of evil. The Traveler provides sanctuary in this dark age. It makes a bleak universe feel like it has peace, a home, and a safeguard. But when players first encountered the speaker, he alludes to the idea that despite the safety and respite guaranteed by the last city, the darkness was encroaching from all around and threatened to wipe out all life as we knew it.
The darkness is coming back. We will not survive it this time.
Its armies surround us. The Fallen are just the beginning.
The writing is cryptic and esoteric. To find more clues, you had to access a repository of in-game lore and backstory called the Grimoire. The Grimoire contained cryptic poems alluding to powerful and ancient forces that threatened to consume all existence. The dark heart beats beneath the world. The shadows lengthen. The night descends. Destiny gets pretty existential sometimes. Why doesn't this godlike figure speak to you? Much of the destructive nature of its antagonists deal with some sense of cosmic scale in their power and destructive capabilities. But what's incredible is how good of a job Destiny did of concealing just how destructive the final fight could be. 1 year later, the dire straits humanity lies in were made evident. This was accomplished through the Dark Below and the Taken King DLCs. These stories revolve around the Hive God Oryx and his son Crota. Oryx can corrupt beings with darkness and bend them to his will. He perverts the natural order of things, casually, flippantly, easily. Early Destiny laid the groundwork for existential threats. The story builds up to a resounding climax with this insanely powerful figure known as the Witness and its mysterious Black Fleet. We wouldn't know about the Witness until about a decade later, but the scary part was the implication that it had been orchestrating the forces of darkness that have laid siege to the light of the last city for eons. You could say Marvel pioneered this sort of storytelling approach, with breadcrumbs alluding to the arrival of Thanos by Infinity War's drop. Both villains are not immediately revealed as the primary antagonists. Their presence is hinted at and their influence grows over time, creating a sense of mystery and anticipation. Reshaping reality at scale. Transforming things, people, planets. A fully realized universe that is perfectly arranged in a certain specific way. A bad guy who wants to do this has to plant seeds from a distance. Thanos did this in the first Avengers, where he was revealed as the mastermind behind Loki's attack on Earth. Destiny's ability to weave a web like this was big for the industry. While Warframe predates Destiny, its developers have acknowledged being inspired by Destiny's shared world aspects and have incorporated similar elements into their game. Warframe's open world areas and cooperative missions reflect this influence, and the narrative is a crucial component of that. For 4 years, Destiny players would take down formidable opponents acting at the beck and call of the Witness, until eventually, the real sinister plot revealed itself with the death of a Cabal military commander who had tried to capture the light for himself. In a similar vein to when Thanos picked up the Infinity Gauntlet for the first time, announcing that he would carry out his plan himself, the pyramid ships in Destiny's Shadowkeep expansion imply the foreboding build of the Witness and its web. In the Shadowkeep expansion, the moon is under siege by the Hive, who seek to commune directly with the darkness. By the time this ship has shown itself to Guardians, the Witness has begun moving its more aggressive chess pieces, much like how Thanos took a more direct role in his quest for the Infinity Stones. The Pyramid's arrival escalated Destiny's stakes to a cosmic level, just as the Infinity Stones did for the MCU. The power of a pyramid ship is implied to be unreasonably immense, acting as dark counterparts to the power of the Traveler. They seem to embody the darkness with the same power level in which it utilizes the light. Pyramid ships can manipulate and create pocket dimensions, alter time and space, even resurrect the dead. Blasts of energy from these ships can wipe out entire cities. They can influence and change weather patterns, deploy massive armies, and communicate across vast distances. Over the course of the next few Destiny expansions, pyramid ships would act as agents of the Witness, corrupting the environments they were a part of and spreading agents of the darkness to bring about dastardly ends. A soul pyramid ship turned the moon of Jupiter, Europa, into a frozen wasteland. This soul pyramid ship entraps the moon in a desperate battle for control, as its Hive agents seek to turn it into a staging ground for an attack on Earth. One sinister component of the pyramid ships is the means in which parts of Destiny's narrative are communicated to the player character. It's implied that even the light is not immune to the power the darkness from these vessels can exert. Periodically, a mysterious voice beckons the players to approach the ship and speaks to it in the same vast, esoteric statements that have been repeated since the first game released in 2014.
Violence, beauty, truth. These things await inside. Crota slaughtered many guardians. The light stood by and did nothing. In light, there is only weakness. In light, there is only failure. In light, there is only death.
It speaks of the light as an unhelpful observing force that refuses to intervene in moments where its power could be seen as useful to avert disaster. It even describes the light as something adjacent to death, which seems strange to the player character because up until this point, the light has always been associated with good and the darkness has always been associated with bad. This is where the seeds of the thesis for Destiny started to become evident. Whatever is commanding the darkness isn't a solely vacuous thing. It's not various disconnected bodies acting solely among themselves, even when they are independently acting with violent intent towards the last city. They're all being manipulated in a more grand, operatic scheme. And as far as we know, the pyramid ships must be connected. Wherever the Black Fleet appears, agents of the darkness appear too. We get implications that the darkness is not this monolithic thing, because the voice associated with these ships refers to itself as us, or we. A faction, or somebody representing that faction, is acting on behalf of the darkness, or at least using it.
We beckoned. You answered. We've kept you waiting long enough. Come to us.
At a certain point, the darkness becomes more than just whatever the aliens are using to fight the good guys. The darkness must be some kind of tool for something more involved, more sinister. In the Avengers, the Infinity Stones are powerful in their own right, but theoretically they can be used for anything. Whoever or whatever wants them wants to use them for something specific, but it's not clear just yet. Still, the scale of what is coming is hinted at, even if it seems just too grand to conceptualize. Eris Morn, a student of the Hive, has increasingly disturbing visions and nightmares, induced by the presence of the pyramid ships. Visions of a static, unmoving reality that consumes all it touches. A final shape. But something strange happens with the release of the Beyond Light expansion next year. While the Guardians have always been users of the light to defeat users of the darkness like the Hive on the moon, this expansion would be the first time Guardians would make usage of the darkness themselves, but the player character wouldn't have any idea what was orchestrating that. A fallen leader known as Aramis would use a power of the darkness called stasis to their own ends, and the player character would also gain control over this power themselves. Now, the powers of the light include arc, solar, and void. These are physical phenomenon, but the darkness seems to embody mental concepts. Stasis was something entirely new. It was cold, it froze things, it didn't create, it slowed, made still. Beyond Light made an important point. The darkness could be utilized by anything or anyone, even Guardians who were agents of the light. So if the darkness could be used by forces of good per se, that meant that the light could be manipulated as well. Destiny wove all of these questions in a multifaceted thread while still rolling out regular content that was engaging and exciting. Altering the landscape of the known player world, the player could navigate the events as they took place in real time. This was common practice in MMOs of the past. In World of Warcraft, when Deathwing lays siege to the world of Azeroth, the Cataclysm wreaks havoc across the landscape. Warzone's live events, such as the nuke event that transitioned to a new map, demonstrate how developers can use real-time events to create excitement and anticipation within a game's community, and make you feel like you're a part of something. But patience was the key for Destiny writers. While allusions to the threat of the encroaching darkness were made so many years ago, now the player could experience the scale of its destructive force in real time over many years. The player could see entire planets fall under the grip of the darkness. They could see the machinations of the last city move in lockstep with the war efforts against these adversaries. As the player gained newfound relationships with various races and factions, they too could be found throughout the city as well. In that sense, this stretch of Destiny content was important for speaking to the spirit of the narrative. One could be forgiven for finding it dry and lacking substance so long ago, but there was no denying it by now. Destiny was a world-class force in narrative storytelling, and it was weaving webs much like the movie industry had with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the ultimate face, or faces, behind the evil machinations and scheming had not been revealed still yet. There were just a couple more pieces that needed to be put in place. From Infinity War to Endgame, to Lightfall and the final shape, Destiny's Light and Darkness saga started to culminate in a grand galactic finish when the Witness finally revealed itself to the Guardians. Just prior to this, the Witch Queen DLC exemplified Destiny's storytelling ability and how it had reached a level of sophistication and complexity that rivaled prestige television, blurring the lines between games and other forms of media. Lightfall saw the arrival of the Witness alongside its Black Fleet as it finally made a move to attack the Traveler itself. Its power is implied with a sense of demonic, godlike nature. With a mere gesture, it can slice through Guardian ships, manipulating matter and energy on a fundamental level. The terrifying extent of its power is seen as precise, murderous, cosmically knife-like. Similarly, Thanos is established to be on a power level that's well and above the Avengers when he single-handedly takes down the Hulk in a simple fistfight. But what makes these villains so compelling isn't necessarily their power level. It's also their motivation. Marvel's Thanos wasn't the only comic book character to explore this. DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths saw the Anti-Monitor attempting to annihilate entire realities. This isn't merely a modern fascination. Mythology and religion are rife with similar tales of apocalyptic events and transformative figures, ideal shapes of the universe. Thanos and the Witness posit themselves as ultimate agents of these changes, and are philosophically rich characters. But whereas Thanos is more akin to a madman with great power, the Witness seems like a malicious god. and that makes it very compelling to fight in a universe where you don't have answers for all the questions you have. But it gets deeper than that. The Witness is not one person, desiring selfish things from their newfound god. Rather than taking the gifts they were given, the race of the Witness demanded more answers, and rather than living without them, sought a form of ego death, a gestalt consciousness comprised of billions of fused souls into one single entity. Such a maddening ambition is embodied by Thanos' character in some ways too.
The hardest choices require the strongest will.
Both of these characters have god complexes, believing they know what's best for the universe, willing to sacrifice countless lives to achieve their goals. But the difference in Destiny is that we live it out. Our guardians are blank slates, allowing us to forge our own heroic journeys and even find redemption amidst the chaos. Our battles aren't just visually stunning, they're heart-pounding, visceral experiences. Destiny's action is grand and operatic, and makes other games feel like the stakes are tame. The Witness elevates the story of Destiny and just how terrifying it is. It's a personification of existential madness and a representation of the human mind's propensity for obliteration over unknown quantities, all in the name of pattern seeking or something akin to it. The Witness has to be what it is for Destiny to work. Only a villain with this scale of finality and power could be appropriate to describe the lawn-sweeping story that built up to a threat to the very nature of the universe itself. The final shape is like our Ragnarok, Armageddon, and many others put into one. In defeating it, the Destiny community participated in one of the most narratively impactful pieces of interactive media, all in line with Bungie's master plan since 2014. Destiny's decade-long journey, culminating in the final shape, is a testament to the power of long-term storytelling in games. It has set a new standard for narrative ambition and will undoubtedly inspire future generations of game developers. The final shape is not just an ending. It's a testament to the potential of video games as a storytelling medium, proving they can deliver epic narratives that rival the biggest blockbusters. Thanos, meet the Witness. We've been anticipating your arrival for some time.